Hello guys, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Tessie. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all, depending on where you are watching from. Hope you all are doing well, and thank you so much for stopping by. So Justice Abba Mohammed struck out Labour Party and Peter Obi's petition against Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and according to him, in delivering his verdict, Justice Abba said it is unimaginable that a petitioner will allege widespread rigging in 176,000 polling units, over 8,000 wards, 774 local government, 36 state and FCT, without stating the specific place where the alleged irregularities occurred. Similarly, the court has also dismissed a petition against the running mate of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Shetima. I'm going to read out that judgment for you guys also quickly before I let you guys watch some videos from the election tribunal. But I want to beg you all to please help me by liking and sharing this video so that YouTube and Facebook can recommend it to more people. It says the Presidential Election Petition Court has thrown out the petition filed by the Allied People's Movement APM to nullify the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The five-member panel of the court, led by Justice Haruna Tisamani, has said that though the three cases challenging President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's election were consolidated, they would maintain separate identities. The first to the fifth defendant in APM's petition are the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), the ruling All Progressive Congress (APC), President Tinubu, Vice President Kashim Shettima, and Mr. Kabiru Masari. This petition is devoid of any merit, the court ruled, dismissing it as incompetent. The tribunal also dismissed the APM petition against the INEC and the other respondent. The court also held that the issue raised by APM in its petition contained pre-election matters that could only be determined by the Federal High Court. Justice Tisamani said the ground upon which this petition was presented is that the third respondent, as of the time of election, not qualified to contest the election. The averment in paragraph 16, as captured in with the fact of the petition, this ground caused the objection to the incompetence of this petition. Therefore, this petition lacked substance and accordingly discontinued. The second ground for the objection is that the petition is an abuse of court process. It is premised on the fact that the petitioners had earlier instituted an action before the Federal High Court in suit number FHC ABV CS 1215/2022 between APM and INEC and 12 others on the same subject matter as in this petition against the first, second, third, and fourth respondent in this petition and others. The court said the process of challenging the nomination of a candidate is purely a pre-election matter, and local standing to challenge a nomination is an aspirant who participated in the process of such nomination. In other words, apart from an aspirant who took part in the primary election, no other person is authorized to challenge such nominations by a political party for an election. That process of challenging the nomination is sanctioned by Section 84:14 of the Electoral Act 2022 and 285:14 of the Constitution.
Specify the polling units or places where the irregularities or malpractices occurred. I bereft of material particulars, and such arguments are incompetent and liable to be struck. As specifically stated in PDP and INEC, the petitioner who has failed to state such material particulars cannot invoke the provision relating to further particulars as a sword against the respondent in order to cure the incompetence of such argument. With respect, it is a misconceived argument on the part of the senior counsel for the petitioners to state that the latter decision of the Apex Court in Ombugadu and Sule Supra, which relates to further particulars under paragraph 17(1) of the first schedule, has departed the specific decisions of the Apex Court in Belgore Ahmed, PDP, INEC, Ipiazu and Oti, and several others, on the mandatory requirements for stating material facts as provided in paragraph 4.1, first schedule to the Electoral Act. Contrary to the contention of the petitioners, the decision of the Supreme Court in Ombugadu and Sule Supra has merely reiterated the legal position relating to further particulars as provided in paragraph 17 sub 1, first schedule to the Electoral Act 2020. It has not departed from the above specific decisions of the Apex Court on the materiality of specifying in an election petition polling units or places where irregularities and malpractices are alleged to have occurred. Now, a look at the arguments in the petitioner's petition shows that the petitioners have only alleged various irregularities and malpractices, but failed to specify the particular polling units or specific places where the alleged irregularities and malpractices have occurred. For instance, in paragraph 9 of the petition, where the petitioners avert that, and I quote, in appropriate cases, these agents raised complaints about anomalies where they occurred and reported such complaints to designated officers of the second respondent and the first respondent, unquote. The petitioners failed to specify the anomalies, the places where the anomalies occurred, the agents who complained, and the designated officers of the second petitioner and the first respondent to whom the complaints were made. In paragraph 60 and 61 of the petition, where the petitioners allege that the first respondent, and I quote, suppressed the actual scores obtained by the petitioners by deliberately uploading blood from EC8As on the IRF in 18,088 polling units. The petitioners did not specify the polling units, but only stated that they will rely on spreadsheets containing the polling units codes and details of the 18,088 polling units, as well as the authentic results in the said polling units. In paragraph 66 and 67, where the petitioners allege that the first respondent embarked on, and I quote, massive misrepresentation and manipulation by uploading fictitious results in polling units where there were no elections, unquote. They did not specify the polling units where they allege there were no elections. Incorrect results that were uploaded and which are the correct results. Again, in paragraph 68 to 71, where the petitioners allege that the scores obtained by them were, and I quote, unlawfully reduced and added by the first respondent to the scores of the second respondent, unquote. They failed to state their scores that were reduced and added to that of the second respondent by the first respondent, and the figures that shows that the first petitioners won the election. In paragraph 72, 73, 76 to 78, where the petitioners allege overvoting, they merely stated that they will, and I quote, rely on the forensic reports of the election materials showing that the votes cast in the polling units in Ekiti State, Oyo State, Ondo State, Taraba State, Osun State, Kano State, Yobe, and Niger States exceeded the number of votes accredited on the beavers in those states. Petitioners failed to specify the polling units in those states where the overvoting occurred, the number of votes affected, the margin of lead, which they claim that the voters who ought to legitimately vote in those polling units. In paragraph 73 of the petition, petitioners only stated that they will, and I quote, show that in the computation and declaration of the results of the election, based on the uploaded results, the votes recorded for the second respondent did not comply with the legitimate process of computation of the result and disfavored the petitioners, unquote. In Rivers, Lagos, Taraba, Benue, Adamawa, Imo, Bauchi, Borno, Kaduna, and Plateau, and other states of the Federation. Petitioners neither specified the uploaded results nor the votes illegally recorded by the second respondents and how they were disfavored. Paragraph 83 of the petition, where the petitioners claim that the first respondents scored the majority of lawful votes cast at the election, they did not state the majority of lawful votes they claim to have scored, especially as elections and the determination of who won is about figures. In paragraph 99 of the petition, where the petitioners say they will rely on from EC8As to establish that substantial votes were unlawfully credited to the second respondent, they failed to state the figures of the unlawful votes credited to the second respondent. In the petition, petitioners merely made generic allegations of various irregularities and malpractices against the respondents without specifying the polling units, collation centers, or specific places where the alleged irregularities and malpractices occurred. Rather, petitioners only stated that they will rely on spreadsheets, inspection reports, and forensic/expert analysis, which they say they have incorporated in the petition by reference. but none of the spreadsheets, inspection report, and forensics/expert analysis was attached and served along with the petition on the respondent. Rather, they were only listed as items 35 and 36 in the list of documents to be relied upon by the petitioners. It is only in paragraph 62 and 64 of the petition where the petitioners allege that the first respondents suppressed the lawful votes of the petitioners and inflated the votes of the second and fourth respondents in Rivers and Benue states. That the petitioners gave figures of the votes, where the petitioners gave figures of the votes suppressed for the petitioners and those inflated for the second and fourth respondents, and also stated that they claim to be the actual figures scored, what they claim to be the actual figures scored by them and by the second and fourth respondents. But all other paragraphs of the petition where irregularities and malpractices were alleged are bereft of any material details of the polling units or places where they were alleged to have taken place, or the figures of votes alleged to have been suppressed, inflated, or inflated. It is also pertinent to observe that in paragraph 79 of the petition, where the petitioners allege corrupt practices, they merely stated that they are repeating their pleadings in support of the grounds of non-compliance to be in support of their allegations of corrupt practices. It should be noted, however, that not every ground of non-compliance will amount to corrupt practice. In fact, the standard of proof of non-compliance differs from that of corrupt practices, while standard of proof of non-compliance is on the balance of probabilities, that of corrupt practices is beyond reasonable doubt. The PDP, INEC, Mohamed Wamako, Board of Customs and Excise versus Alaji Ibrahim Barrow, citations on the record. It is instructive that in paragraphs 3.2, 3.221 of their submission, in opposition to the first respondent's objection, petitioners appear to have conceded that in the averments of the petition, they have not specified the particular polling units where the alleged irregularities and malpractices occurred, or specified the figures of the votes or scores which they are alleged to have been suppressed, inflated, or inflated. Rather, they stated that the details of the polling units are contained in the spreadsheets and forensic analysis reports which they have incorporated and made part of the pleadings by reference. See particularly on this paragraph 67 of the petition. Petitioners further argued that since the respondents have failed to apply for further particulars under paragraph 17(1) and 2 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act, they are deemed to have understood those averments. However, by paragraph 15 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022, when the petitioner claims, and I quote, that he had the highest number of valid votes cast at the election, the party defending the election or the return at the election shall set out clearly in his reply particulars of the votes, if any, which he objects to, and the reasons for his objection against such votes, showing how he intends to prove at the hearing that the petitioner is not entitled to succeed, unquote.